Welcome to Playing Above the Line. We're a podcast that takes a peek into the daily lives of community and business leaders. Each week, we uncover different views of the path to growth, leadership, and achieving success. I'm Dennis Sheeran.
And I'm Alan Cave. Dennis and I are both shareholders at Hartman, Blackman & Kilgore. We're a full-service accounting and business consulting firm. As CPAs, we've had the unique opportunity to work with many different leaders and decided we wanted a way to share their incredible stories that we've learned along the way.
This week, we've got Casi Callaway with us. Casi is the Executive Director and Baykeeper for Mobile Baykeeper. For 20 years, Casi has worked to keep Mobile Bay beautiful. From filing lawsuits to protect it from sewage to recruiting hundreds of volunteers, she is committed to educating the community on issues that affect public health, environment, and quality of life.
Well, Dennis, we're here for another day of podcasting. How are you?
I am good today. It's sunny, it's sort of warm, and I'm ready for a show.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
So today, we've got Casi Callaway. I got the name right. You keep reminding me.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and we appreciate it. You're a Mobile Baykeeper. Just tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing.
Well, I came back home in 1998 to be the Executive Director of Mobile Baykeeper, and I was all of 29, I think, and have now been back at it for 21 years and happy as a clam doing you name it, all sorts of work. The organization was a staff of me when we started, and right now, today, we have 22 people in the office building.
Wow.
So we have 5 interns, we have 9 AmeriCorps members and 8 full-time staff members. So it's a huge team working for clean water, clean air, and healthy communities every day. Lots of fun.
So expand a little bit about exactly what Mobile Baykeeper does and kind of the genesis of the organization, because it's been around, I guess, like you say, for 20 years or so. But how did it start, and what's your mission? What are you out to accomplish?
Well, the organization started before me. It started to fight one chemical plant coming in on the western shore of Mobile Bay. That community was really looking to increase property values, be a family, kind of see if they could make the western shore of Mobile Bay similar to what's going on in Fairhope. And late 90s, but with this new plant, people got worried and they didn't know what to do, and they started doing research and figured out a little bit of what the challenges were with the plant itself, but also they did a little more digging around Mobile and found that we were number 1 for toxics released to the air, land, and water that were recognized to cause cancer, reproductive disorders, developmental disorders. We were in the top 10 for every bad thing you can imagine. So Alabama likes to be number 1, and so we were. So they kind of saw the problems there and realized it was bigger than them. And they reached out to find somebody to get involved with the organization and to take the helm. I grew up in Mobile, and I left for college in Atlanta, and then I went to D.C., and this is one of those Mobile small world stories. My best friend from high school's uncle was the chairman of the board of Clean Water Action, my D.C. organization. My best friend in D.C.'s cousins were the chair of Mobile Baykeeper, what was then West Baywatch, and we all found the little circle and found each other, and then I got brought on. So we started as West Baywatch, became Mobile Baywatch, and then quickly joined forces with Waterkeeper Alliance and became Mobile Baykeeper. Long, crazy story.
The 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what were you doing in D.C.?
Same thing.
So
my story of how I kind of got to the environment is I was at Emory University in Atlanta, and a freshman and some people on my dorm who were very different from me. I would say I'm a Mobilian. I grew up very conservative community, conservative household. Preppy Handbook was my go-to guide for how to live. And these really cool people were turbans and Birkenstocks and the whole 9 yards. But I just was really drawn to what they were doing and what they were talking about. And at some point realized that I grew up on the beach. I grew up on the bay. I grew up even playing in the Delta, that was much scarier without GPS back in my high school days. But never ever spent a summer not in Gulf Shores, and didn't ever, every time you got a chance to jump off a pier, you were going to. But they kind of helped me see that was a beautiful, wonderful thing that wasn't necessarily permanent if we didn't work for it. So I got there and kind of fell into Earth Day 1990. So that's exactly how old I am. In 1989, the community was working nationally to bring back Earth Day, to do a second celebration of it. So I was asked to be the Southeastern Regional College Campus organizer for Earth Day 1990 to get every college in 5 states to celebrate Earth Day. So I got my first migraine. I made my first C, and I got bit by this bug, and it was what I would truly call a calling. So I've been doing environmental work since Halloween weekend, 1989. So this year will be 30 years.
I mean, that's very cool to me that you can pinpoint the exact, to the day that you found your passion. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't that lucky, to be able to find their passion, then work in it for, 20-something years.
30.
I'm an accountant.
I know.
I didn't have my calculator, sorry.
It's true. And I've really worked hard never to take that for granted, because it is not, you look around your world and very few people know exactly what they want to be. And it's a huge blessing, and I take it seriously.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is not a political podcast, and I'm not asking, for it to be, but I just am curious for my own curiosity. Since you were deeply involved in the kind of the Washington scene back, 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, compare that to the environment now. I mean, has it changed much, do you think? I mean, that might not be a fair question, but I'm just curious as to what your take is on what we're seeing today out of Washington versus what you saw when you were involved back then. I mean, is it that much different?
It is. I mean, in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't. One of the reasons that coming home was so amazing. So I worked for a group called Clean Water Action in Washington, D.C. It's a national organization, a membership organization, and a lobbyist. So I lobbied. I went door to door canvassing and organizing. I got people to write letters and make phone calls. I feel like one of the really neat things about then, the early 90s to now, is you had elected officials who listened to their constituents a lot better than you do now. They believed in, if their constituents were calling, whatever the party, and said, I believe in you protecting Mobile Bay, then those politicians took that seriously. So if the Clean Water Act were up for reauthorization, they wouldn't say, who sponsored it, an R or a D? They would say, what will this do for Mobile Bay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what's gone, and that's what's scary, because everybody cares about Mobile Bay. But if a Democrat brings it up, then the Republicans can't support it, and vice versa. So that's something that, looking at the issue for the issue's sake, that's really changed. Because it's not a Republican or a Democratic issue. It is a people issue. It's a community issue. It's an economic issue, protecting Mobile Bay. It's not just for the birds and the bunnies. It's for us to go swimming and fishing. Right. It's for our economy, tourism, even the port. Everything that we do is very intrinsically tied to our waterways in coastal Alabama.
How has Mobile Bay been impacted positively in the last 20, 25 years since this organization got started? I mean, is the mission being accomplished every day?
I believe so, every day. And it's some days are easier than others. Some battles are easier than others. You have the BP oil disaster and you feel like everything got erased, but it really didn't. When we first started Mobile Baykeeper, we were scary, we were mean, people thought we just were battled everyone. But what we really did was make this community ask different questions. Everything that the chamber did is about jobs and getting jobs into this community. That is their job, jobs. But Mobile Baykeeper's job is environment in Mobile Bay. And so what we do is we speak as the voice for the Bay to make sure water quality and environmental protection is in the room. And at first that was so foreign, but now it's normal. Now they call me and say, hey, we've got a company coming in. Will you just take a look? Or there's some things we need to look at to see if they're going to do it right or do it poorly. How does this fit with what we want to see in our community? And before it was, we go after all industry, period. We take environmental laws out of the way to go after industry. That's changed a lot. We've also seen a lot of the status quo of how you do business change a lot. So red clay running in a river is not normal anymore. You know to call somebody about it. You know that means somebody's doing a construction project badly. We know when there's sewage in the bay. We know we should check Swim Guide to see if it's safe to go swimming in Mobile Bay. And those sewage spills, we had sewage spills in 2017, 25 or 26 million gallons. We talked about it all 2018. And in 2019, we've seen those spills down to a trickle. We've seen water quality violations at a minimum. And that is the way it should be. We've got to keep that focus on, and we've got to make sure people hear it. And then it makes a difference. People get engaged, they get involved, and nobody wants sewer in Mobile Bay, period.
What I hear when I hear that is that it's so much better. Everybody kind of understands and appreciates where Mobile Baykeeper's from, where the chamber's coming from, but that we find ways that everybody works together to accomplish the common goal. And you're not trying to deny anyone, just like none of us would want. I grew up in Fairhope. You know, where I was every day during the summer, I was at Orange Street Pier. Yep. So I can appreciate what you're talking about, and you make me wonder what it was like back in the 70s now. But that's what I'm hearing, that every day you get a chance to influence for the positive good of the community.
I truly believe that it's not a balance, like a scale. Mm-hmm. It's a both and. We've got to figure out those ways to say, what makes sense for all of us? Mm-hmm. Clean water makes economic sense for our community. Mm-hmm. Why do you live in a beautiful place and with green space and with parks and with access to waterways if you're going to pave it or pollute it or trash it? That's the economic value that we have to start actually remembering to place on everything. You know, I said this a lot during the spill, during the BP oil disaster. That was such a scary time, and I think all of us had a real sense of fear and urgency because you didn't know if you were going to lose all wetlands, all shrimp, all whatever. And the one thing that the team, the folks working at Mobile Baykeeper, the board, our members really got was that we had an opportunity to make a difference. Every day we got to get up and go fight and go work and go do something for the greater good. I mean, a lot of people who do what I do are in banking now or something else, because it was a scary time. But what we got to do really was make a difference, and I think that's made a lasting impact on our community.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about that. Let's talk about what I think is a pretty big deal, and you'll have to explain to me a little bit more about it. But just the company that you are in with this award tells me it's a big deal. So you were recently named a Waterkeeper Warrior. So explain what that is, but when I look at the list of other people, I guess, who were around the world that got that designation, talk about that a little bit.
Waterkeeper Alliance is our parent organization, and we have more than 300, there are about 350 waterkeepers globally, 6 continents, 45 countries. And I've been a part of the Alliance for 19 of my 21 years with the organization, but and I didn't really understand what it meant when they chose me, because they told me about 6 months ago. But it's a bit of a dedication to a lifelong work of being involved in making a difference in a community. You know, I'm on a list with London Waterkeeper and with an amazing crowd of global leaders who do some work in communities that their life is in danger every day because they get up and go to work for clean water. I think that what is so unique about Mobile Baykeeper in particular is the difference we make in an incredibly conservative community, in a place, just like you said earlier, where people put politics first and all Republicans are good, all Democrats are bad, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. And we make a difference continually here in a community that doesn't always see that the environment is something that must be protected. And I was proud to have gotten the honor when they told me about it a while ago. I had no idea what all they were going to do and how significant it was going to be. And I'm incredibly humbled and proud to be in this group of 20 people.
Mm-hmm. So you've got opportunities every day to advocate for all the environment around Mobile Bay. It's not just Mobile Bay. So what's a typical week like for Casi Callaway?
Well, I like to consider it job security.
That's great.
Every day is a different kind of day. But today I got a Facebook message, text message, and Mobile Baykeeper got Facebook messages because Fly Creek is running red with clay. Apartment buildings up the stream have not been keeping all their sediment on the stream and in the site, so it's all in the river. So we're getting everybody turned over to where that is to go. We're sending the team out to go figure out exactly where it's coming from safely and not trespassing. But taking good photo documentation. Then we reach out to ADEM and we call them, and then ADEM does, maybe they do the right thing, maybe they don't, but we then kind of kick it up a notch and figure out if we're going to go to the media or if we're going to go through the state agency, we always go to the contractor to say, here's what you're doing wrong. And it's a matter of will the contractor listen or behave or not. So, that's today. But we also are organizing a fundraiser. We're talking about membership. Mobile Baykeeper is still a business. So we're running the business end of the organization and training people to know how to do the work we do. Yesterday, we took a team out to do a cleanup in the community. And when we do that, we want to not just say, here's a trash bag. We say, here's what litter does. Here's what litter is. Here's why you don't litter. Here's why cleaning it up is going to make a difference. We're working on a project in Dog River to capture litter before it gets there and to do serious education with students as well as adults on don't do it in the first place. When you find the problem, solve the problem. So, and then the biggest one we're fighting, challenged on right now is coal ash. Alabama Power's been burning coal for, 75 years and dumping it on the side of their plant, which is also the side of the river. That's an issue we had no clue about 4 years ago. It was just not on anyone's radar. So we had to research it, understand it. We had to understand the law and the policy associated with it. We have to understand the chemistry, the impacts to the environment, natural resources. And then we have to figure out how to solve it. So can we work with the company, or do we have to go for the community? Do we go to the elected officials? What could a law be? What are other states doing? Every day is different. That's the one thing. It's job security, and every day is different. It's always, you're going to learn something new. This job does not get old.
I'm going to use the word fight, but it's not really maybe an appropriate word, but it's always evolving. You're always looking at the next challenge that comes down the road, right?
Right.
And finding ways to address that.
The word fight is so comfortable and so easy, but the way we operate organizationally that's our whole goal is to not get in one.
Right.
We think of ourselves as a collaborator for solutions because what we really want to do, whether it's Alabama Power or Mobile Water and Sewer Service or even ALDOT, we want to find a solution with the partner, with the problem, with maybe the person causing or the team causing the problem, so that we can work together for a solution. Most of the good stuff we do doesn't make the newspaper.
Right. I'll bet.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the hard part is the fight ends up in the newspaper. But, we only sued one utility in 2017 with all of those challenges. But we worked with 6 of them. And the other 5 did the right thing, and they created a plan and a project, and they created a funding mechanism. They found the funding or put the funding where it belonged into upgrades and fixing the problem that they were having over and over again. We helped them see. We created a tool for the Sewage Spill Explorer that showed exactly where all the sewer spills in the Mobile Water and Sewer Service system. They didn't really know for sure, but when you looked at it on a map, you saw 3 Mile Creek light up and Aslava Creek light up. Same with Fairhope. So we worked with these other communities, but we had the one bad actor.
Well, a fight is a one-time thing, but a collaborative solution is for the long term, right?
That's what
Absolutely.
we hope.
Yeah.
That's what we hope.
Yeah. A fight takes a long time to heal the wounds.
Gosh, it does. It really does.
Yeah. Mobile Baykeeper, is it a member-driven organization?
Yes, we are. We are almost $1 million at this point in our little lives, which is cool and scary. And about 50% of our funding comes from membership and about 50% from grants.
Wow.
So we have more federal grants than we've ever had before, which is good and bad because those require significant detail. We easily do the work. We exceed what we tell them we're going to do, but it's always the I dotting and the T crossing that's fun. But we also, it's membership. Because that also makes the difference. If we call an elected official, they're like, come see us, because they know we've got the constituency and the membership to back us up.
Right. And you mentioned briefly about a fundraiser. What type of fundraisers do you have?
We do 4 kind of biggish ones throughout the year. We do Bay Awakening, which is an event to celebrate our work. It's a cool one. We do our annual report there, and we tell people about the work we do more specifically and explicitly. It's either a breakfast or a lunch. The Grand Man Triathlon, which is not for the faint of heart, but it's awesome. It's really getting people in Mobile Bay. So we want you to swim. We want you to be healthy and exercise in the Bay. And so that event is a wonderful event. Bay Bites is our food truck festival on Cooper Riverside Park. It's a way to see downtown Mobile, and people don't always remember that we're on the river.
Yeah.
And then the last one we do is Bay Bash, which is just a huge party at the end of the year to celebrate. We tried to do no work there, just fun. Celebrate the bounty of the bay. Make sure there's an auction and there's free-flowing alcohol for those that, enjoy that sort of thing. And the best food.
Yeah. That's
so lots of fun.
That's fantastic.
Big party sounds like fun.
Oh, we always love a good party. And then just members. I mean, our membership makes the difference. So $20 or $2 million, whatever, whatever your lottery winnings from Florida or Georgia.
Right. There you go.
Mine's negative right now on the lottery. So let's think about other things, other sources of revenue.
So the water is obviously very important to you and your family. What are some of your favorite things to do on the water involving the bay, the rivers, the ocean, that kind of thing?
Beach is my go-to happy place. My kiddo is a water boy and he's the weirdest. So we go in the Delta and he gets in. And I'm like, 80,000 alligators. And he says, oh, honey, it's hot. We're getting in. I mean, he will get in. He'll be in grass up to his knees. And I know it's not my easy place, but it does not matter. I was like, let's just at least get to the center. He's like, no, getting in. He is in. He's 11 and it has never changed. He has jumped off the boat and no matter where we are and gotten in the water. Loves the Delta better than anything else in the world. In Mobile Bay, we just want to be in it. We want to be in the water. So we'll come to your house anytime with cocktails so that we can swim in your front yard. I think that we are so blessed here. Mm-hmm. You can't not be around water. We have 5,000 miles of shoreline in Mobile and Baldwin County.
Wow.
5,000.
It's incredible when you say it like that.
It's unbelievable. But, we call a lot of them ditches. Slava Creek all around the mall. That is a creek that feeds Dog River, and it is a ditch because it's been channelized to go around Walmart and the mall. But it is a creek. And if you look a little more closely, you can kind of feel that. And if you think about it a little bit better, you can see the rocks in there. And if you just get down in it, you can go find tadpoles and you can go find all the critters that we love to play with as kids. Mm-hmm. Coleman has not grown up exactly the way I did. I grew up in a creek, in a river, always. For him, it has to be a weekend adventure. It has to be it's a little bit, we live in Midtown, it's a little more urban.
Yeah, just a little bit. So changing gears a little bit, what are your interests? What are you reading right now? What are you listening to? Music, podcasts, things like that?
Mobile Baykeeper got a grant at the end of the year last year to do major strategic planning and organizational development. Yeah. So this is a leadership podcast is so perfect because everything we're reading right now fits in. Our trainer, she drops little nuggets like the hedgehog principle and you name it and she's dropping it and I'm going, and so finally I started reading the books. So I'm reading Good to Great, Jim Collins.
Great book.
And we just read Patrick Lencioni's Five Behaviors.
Five
dysfunctions
of a team.
Five dysfunctions of a team, yeah. And I'm doing a training, or I've done a couple of trainings on it that reverse it, that talk about the five behaviors of an effective team. So, and that's what we're teaching our teammates. I'm reading Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. Mm-hmm. And the one that I listened to twice in an audiobook because it is so fantastic is Get Your Stuff Together.
Yep.
She opens, Rachel Knight, I think, she opens the book with, you're going to hear the S word 387 times and it's on the cover. So what were you thinking? Don't get mad at me. And it's an incredible book to kind of help you refocus and reorganize your priorities. It's really good.
Those are all great, and a lot of our guests have we've heard those same titles several times. So it just goes to the impact that they're having on a lot of leaders in the community and that kind of thing. So Dennis, last episode made me get rid of the HB&K jet, so we're going to go with the HB&K time machine this time. So if we got the time machine out and you were able to hop in and go anywhere in time, forward or backward, in history or in the future, where do you think that you would go? And if you can tell me why, that'd be great.
Oh my gosh, that is a great and crazy question. Oh, see, and I could get in so much trouble with it and go in very different ways. Let's think about that.
Again, what's the fun if you don't go for it?
I know a little trouble never.
Okay, so I'm gonna do it, and my daddy is gonna like turn over and be real mad. But I went to Emory University, and at Emory, Jimmy Carter the Carter Center was at Emory then. It's now got its own space and place, but he spoke to every single class that I took at Emory, every class. And when I organized Earth Day 1990, he was my keynote speaker at Earth Day, at the Emory University Earth Day. And he said, I'm still a conservative girl from Sweet Home, Alabama. And my daddy, I cried when Carter won. Just full disclosure, I cried when Carter won.
Okay, fair enough.
But what he did for the environment as a leader during his time was incredible. So I think I would love to go back in time to be his advocate to help him be a little bit better of a leader.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think the insight he had then, and my father will say this every day, is that he was the best ex-president we've ever had. He has done so much, not just locally, but globally. And if he could have been smart enough to do that in office for the environment and for our communities by building consensus with the community, I think he could have been a phenomenal leader for us. So forgive that he's a Democrat, but he it was a terrible president for that little time, but he was has been and still is a phenomenal leader in my mentor list, I guess.
Great answer. Thank you so much, Casey. Thanks for joining us. So you've been
absolutely.
great. This has been great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I really appreciate the opportunity.
Follow Mobile Baykeeper on social media by clicking on the links in the show notes and visit www.mobilebaykeeper.org for more information on getting involved with this awesome organization. Well, thanks for listening to our podcast today. To never miss an episode, subscribe to Playing Above the Line at iTunes and anywhere else you get your podcast. And be sure to leave us a rating. We'd love to know what you think about our show.
To contact us or to stay connected, follow us on social media at HBKCPAS on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.